All right, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Hope y'all have had a good week so far. Today you are gonna be doing kind of a review over the dynasties we've covered so far. Most of these are what we'll call ancient Chinese dynasties. Starting tomorrow, we'll get into the more medieval dynasties. So I thought today was a good day to kind of wrap up everything you've done so far before we go into the medieval dynasties. So what you'll be doing is you'll read these 2 pages, and then the questions for them are on the next page of the module, and that will be your assignment for today. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me an email, and we can work those out. I'm gonna go through and read this document and the questions for you. If you don't need that or don't want to listen to it, you're good to stop here, start working on the assignment, all that fun stuff. If you need to hear me read these, I will do that now for you. So, starting up here with beginning of China, prehistoric Chinese around 6500 BC, people first settled in the Yangtze River Valley. This river flows 2,900 miles eastward, emptying into the East China Sea. Then, 1,500 years later, villagers along the Huanghe River, or Wanqi River, also known as the Yellow River, invented rice terrace farming, growing crops on steep hills. The Yellow River, named for the yellow silt it carries during the flood season, is 3,430 miles long and empties into the Yellow Sea. China's western border is marked by the largest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas, which is home of the 6-mile-high Mount Everest. In the central part of China is the Gobi Desert. These natural protections isolated China from the surrounding countries, limiting trade and cultural exchanges. The people cultivated rice, which is a staple eaten routinely and a dominant food in the Chinese diet. The farmers adapted to the steep slopes in southern China, terrace farming, cutting flat places into the side of hills for farming. This technique took advantage of the warm, wet climate, which is perfect for growing rice, producing tons every year. The poorer people had plenty to eat because the rice was cheap. The first ruler in China was Yu the Great, who founded the Xia dynasty, a sequence that ruled from 2070 to 1600 BC. Whoever controls China, the Yellow River controls China, said the great Yu. Yu worked tirelessly to control the yearly flooding of the Yellow River that ruined crops. After 13 years, he built a 2-tier system of levees, very long, tall man-made, far enough away from the banks of the river to hold floodwaters at the bay. The levees, much like the Mississippi River levees, finally did control the river. Yu established a hereditary ruling succession system, which became known as a dynasty. As ruler succeeded ruler in the Xia dynasty, they became more extravagant and laid a heavy burden on the people. This treatment of the people is why Tang, from the Shang dynasty, led a revolt against the last ruler of the Xia dynasty. Tang lowered taxes and stopped the opulent building projects. Tang ruled with great wisdom and the economy expanded. With the relief from financial burden came a flourishing cultural and art boom. Thus, the Shang dynasty ruled China from 1600 to 2046 BC. That's not right. I think it's 1046. I think it's a typo on their end. During this period, writing with character symbols being developed along with bronze metalworks and chariots. Religion became more organized with temples. The Shang rulers used diviners. However, the same extravagancies of Xia dynasty reoccurred with the Shang. Around 1046, King Wu of the province Zhou rebelled and won against the King Zhou of Shang. This win began the Zhou dynasty, which lasted until 226 BCE. Culture, art, and civilization spread under this dynasty. One example is the refinement of iron metalworks. Some of the most significant Chinese philosophers lived during the Zhou dynasty. Around 500 BC, Duke Ting appointed Confucius the minister of crime, whose care decreased crime to the almost non-existent. From 221 to 206 BC came the rise of the Qin dynasty. a tiny state that became the most powerful in China. Ying Zhen, king of Qin, defeated Zhou forces with iron weapons and chariots using the philosophy win at any cost. He declared himself Qin Shi Huangdi, the Qin, first emperor of China. Under his rule, the Great Wall of China was begun to protect them from their enemies to the north. It ran for 3,000 miles from east to west along the northern border. Zhang built an extensive road system like our interstate system. One was more than 4,500 miles long and 50 feet wide. He commissioned the creation of the Grand Canal in the south, divided up land holdings, and was initially a fair and just ruler. The Qin dynasty quickly ceased after his death because of court intrigue and ineptitude. The Han dynasty began with Liu Bang, a man from a poor farming family. He held fast to Confucius' teachings and ruled wisely. He made Confucianism the official religion of China. During this time, the Silk Road was built. Another leader during this dynasty, Wu Di, formed a vast army and he had increased taxes to support it. He also developed a civil service that took care of daily government tasks. This civil service stemmed from the belief that jobs should be based on merit and not on birthright, which is referred to as a meritocracy. From the beginning, the Chinese people were very innovative. During the Xia dynasty, beer making developed. They invented a water clock in which water slowly dripped onto a dial that made one revolution in 24 hours. Around 5000 BC, they discovered a way to harvest silk produced by silkworms to use in paper and clothing. The Silk Road, built more than 2,000 years ago for silk trade, became a path for culture, economic, and technology exchanges with other countries. During the Zhou dynasty, iron smelting advanced by melting pig iron to make many tools. This new technique led to making steel by combining iron and carbon with other elements for buildings. The Shang dynasty artists created porcelain. Porcelain dishes are often referred to as China because this process began in China. Other inventions from China are gunpowder, the compass, and woodblock printing that led to movable type printing. They used gunpowder in their fireworks and to fend off their enemies from the north. The compass made land and sea travel more accurate. An extraordinary medical development around 5000 BC was brain surgery, the drilling of holes in the skull to reduce brain swelling after head trauma. Some scholars suggest the medical procedure was to obtain bone discs for protection from demons associated with illness and disease. The Yellow Emperor's Canon of Internal Medicine was codified during the Han Dynasty. This book was so important that it had been translated and printed since that time. You can purchase a copy of it today. In the beginning, while China was still without unified leadership, the people worshipped many gods. Shang Ti was the chief god. He presided over war, weather, and good government and agriculture. However, the Chinese people began ancestor worship in addition to Shang Ti. They believed that when people died, they received divine powers to help the living. Much like the Egyptians, they filled tombs with everything needed for luxurious alternatives. For example, Qin Shi Huangdi became obsessed with death and afterlife, so he built a considerable palace tomb furnished with 8,000 ceramic warriors equipped with real weapons, commanders, chariots, and birds and animals. The Zhao dynasty spread a popular belief called the Mandate of Heaven, which was God's blessing on a ruler and rule mandated by heaven. When the government went against the will of the gods, it could be overthrown. Confucius, the great philosopher, was only 73 years old when his father passed away at 73. The family needed money to survive because Confucius worked every day after school. He believed the secret to learning was asking questions. His ideas revolved around Li, which is a person's place in society, and Zhen, the conscience. His teachings focused on respect and social peace. His ideas greatly influenced China until communism took over in 1949. So there is the reading, and then I will go through the questions real quick for you. Question 1. Write an excerpt from the reading. An excerpt is just a quote from the reading that explains what achievement you, the great, did and why. Question 2. Select a portion of the text that best supports the Shang Rebellion was good for China. Why was the Great Wall so important to the Chinese? Which emperor made Confucianism the national religion? Why was this positive for China? Who was Ying Zhen? What did he do that boosted China? What was the extraordinary medical development? How was it used? And those are the questions for today. If you all have questions, let me know. Other than that, that's all I have for you all. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I will see you all tomorrow.